All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone that has attended this SBIR at Connect webinar. My name is Shadi Azum. I lead the SBIR portfolio of One Navy Command. If you've been to a lot of webinars like this through Connect, you've probably seen me a couple times. I am taking over for Gretel von Saun, who usually does lead these. So again, thank you so much for attending. We are very, very excited to invite our sister agency, DARPA, to talk about their SBIR program and some of the things that they're looking for. So with that, before I go ahead and get started, I do want to talk a little bit about this opportunity or this partnership that we have with Connect. Connect is a local San Diego nonprofit that helps entrepreneurs scale through diverse programs. They offer resources like mentorship and education, and they provide various workshops like the one that you're attending right now, and office hours that you can speak to a representative and get some advice, whether that's legal, IT, or even SBIR assistance. We do encourage you to visit connect.org. We will place that in the webinar chat for you to visit. Okay, and seeing as we have a full plate of information, I am super excited to introduce Ms. Jennifer Thabit. She is the program director for the DARPA Small Business Programs Office. She spent more than 13 years supporting DARPA and the DoD by providing program and project management for complex government contracts with a focus on project and financial management. And I learned this too, Jennifer. So you spent some time as an attorney specializing in contract law and general litigation. So I feel like that's a Jill of all trades, which is pretty awesome. But we're so excited to have her present DARPA and the DARPA SBIR program. I will, before we jump into a slide deck, we do have a video that was given to us by DARPA. So I will defer to our wonderful coordinator, Kylie, to get that started. Kylie, if there's some sound, I'm not able to, maybe we could.
Yes, let me double check on that right now.
And while Kylie is getting the sound going for the video, I do want to say that if you do have any questions, please post them in the chat. After the presentation, I will review those questions and present them to our speakers. And we did have some questions coming in through the registration. Thank you for those that have submitted it when you did register. We will also tackle those as well. So I think we still have no sound. How about as an alternative, what we could do is we could probably get the YouTube video link and we'll post it on the chat for everyone to actually view that in your spare time. But it's a great video to actually check in. Thank you, Kylie. So another thing, so I mentioned about questions, please post them in the webinar chat. I will review them. If there are any answers, I'll also try my best to actually post those answers there as well. Jennifer, I hope that the video itself doesn't hinder things, but I will defer it to you to kind of get started. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join and do this webinar with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. I do encourage you to take a quick look at the video when you have time. It just gets people pretty excited about DARPA, and it gives you a quick little snip into what we do. But thank you guys so much for having me today. I am really excited to be here. And while we're getting our slides up on the screen, I'll just say that today I'll give you a snip into DARPA's small business programs. I'll give you a little bit of background too on DARPA, because I think that the key to really submitting successful proposals in our agency is really understanding DARPA. So with that said, let's go to the second slide or the next slide. Right, and it's all about DARPA's mission. DARPA's mission is really to create breakthrough technologies and capabilities for national security that prevent and create strategic surprise. We invest really heavily in early stage products and ideas, really trying to change the impossible into the possible. Our successes and achievements, I think, kind of speak for themselves. I think you probably have seen some of them, like the internet and smartphone devices. Actually, it was a DARPA SBIR from the 1980s that invented that little integrated chip that enables Wi-Fi in every one of our smartphone devices. And if you think about what I said, right, the 1980s, and think about when we actually got those that integrated chip into our phone, that's a long time for transition. So DARPA is really focusing on finding those great innovations and really trying to help them transition and speed up more into the marketplace. And why that is so important is because we need those innovative risk takers to help us do that, right? In order to achieve our mission to prevent and create strategic surprise, in order to think outside the box, we really need a lot of innovative risk takers. And a lot of times that comes from small businesses. DARPA is a pretty unique agency. We do anywhere from 27 to 29% of our funding on average, devoting that to small businesses. In fact, that's over $700 million that go to small businesses each year, and that extends well beyond our SBIR program. We had, I think, about $55 million going to small disadvantaged businesses, over $130 million going to our SBIR programs, and multiple dollars going to A-Days, veteran-owned, hub zones, and other set-asides. At DARPA, we really recognize that we need to partner with small businesses because those are the ones that are willing to take those risks and help us advance our technology and our mission. So let's go to the next slide and let's talk a little bit about how DARPA is composed. So DARPA is composed of 6 technical offices, the sciences offices and the systems offices. But I will say utilization of our SBIR and STTR program is probably really evenly spaced out amongst all of our tech offices. I do know that Shadi will send the slides out afterwards or make them available to you. So I will say these are the thrust areas right now that are currently being focused on in our technology offices, our technical offices, but our thrust areas shift from time to time. So it's always best to check our website and see where our thrusts have moved to. So let's go on to the next slide. We'll talk about why that is. So at DARPA, we're a real unique agency. In order to stay ahead of state-of-the-art technology, in order to prevent and create strategic surprise, we have to have a unique operating model. We are a $4 billion agency that is not afraid to take risks if it means we push that technology needle forward. And in fact, our director challenges us quite frequently because she says we don't actually fail enough. If all of our programs are successes, then we're not thinking far enough. So we are an innovative risk-taking agency, high tolerance, high risk, high reward, high risk, no reward, but all of it helps us push technology forward. So how do we do that, right? We are a program manager-centric agency. What that means is we rotate our technical program managers in for term appointments. In order to stay ahead of state-of-the-art technology, you cannot have the same people sitting in the same seats day after day. So our program managers are rotated in on a 3 to 5 year term on average. They are the ones that really decide where our thrust areas are going. At DARPA, we are not top down. At DARPA, we are the program managers coming up with the ideas and the areas that we should be exploring, and the director level saying, yes, that's a great idea. So let's go on to the next slide and talk a little bit about how we do this. So at DARPA, we mainly fund ideas in 3 different ways. Programs, which are large, multi-year, multidisciplinary efforts. We do challenges, which are competitions or things that are designed to solve unique R&D problems. We have one out on the street right now, the AICC, the AI Cyber Challenge. I believe they are still accepting applications for the larger round of competition, and we will have semifinals held this August at DEF CON, and then finals held the following August at DEF CON. We do challenges. You may have heard of some of the other ones, the DARPA Robotics Challenge, the DARPA Urban and Grand Challenges, which actually led to self-driving cars and whatnot. we find them to be very effective for getting at results quicker. And then that third way, which is the way that I always like to talk about here, not just because the SBIR program fits in there, but because I think it's a great entry point for people new to working with the government or even DARPA in general, are our smaller efforts, our seedlings, our SBIRs and STTRs, our explorations. These are great ways to enter in and learn more about the agency. So let's focus on the SBIR program. Let's go on to the next slide. Perfect. Okay, so not surprising based on what I've said, our SBIR program is pretty unique. We do things a little bit differently than our sister agencies, right? We've really updated and redesigned our SBIR program to really try to complement and support the technical program work that's being done in those 6 tech offices. So unlike the majority of the DoD components, the DARPA, SBIR, and STTR topics are released under an out-of-cycle BAA. So as opposed to releasing topics at any of the predetermined release dates that the DoD publishes, we release these topics as they're ready. Under this BAA, right, we do these just-in-time topics, and this allows us to be more responsive to the needs of our technical program managers, who themselves, right, are term employees on a limited tenure. It also allows us to align our funding opportunities with our SBIRs with larger DARPA programs. Excuse me. Now, why this is important is because it gives our small businesses or our SBIR and STTR recipients a lot of the same benefits that they would have as they're really integrated into established program communities, those larger programs. In fact, a key distinguisher, and we're moving on that slide, of the program is that our program managers draft. No, back to the next slide, please. Moving on to the next pillar in the slide. Backwards, please. Moving on to this program manager-centric piece, right? Our program managers draft, evaluate, and run the SBIR topics. They are fully engaged with the topic and the performer from the outset. And that really helps set the research and the performer up for success, as it becomes more of a partnership working together. At DARPA, right, our performers have the buy-in and support of the PMs from the start. You know, that doesn't, to me, like, of course they should, but at other agencies that doesn't happen. At other agencies, a lot of times they draft topics based on thrust areas. Then they have a team of evaluators, and then they find the TPOC to help them. But at DARPA, it's the program manager that dreams of the idea, reads all the proposals, makes recommendations, and then they partner with you to do the program. That really helps set you up for success, right? And so we talked about the just-in-time, the program manager-centric, and the topics tied to DARPA programs. So now that final piece that really helps add to the uniqueness of our program is our newest pilot program, our SBIR XL program. And it's focused on transition, really aimed at reimagining SBIRs to transform these ideas into successful small businesses that can scale. I'm going to leave that one there for a minute because I will get to that in the next few slides. Let's go to the next slide, because before anybody really digs in and pays attention, they always want to know the money piece of it. So let's get down to that, right? In order to maximize my budget, which I don't have my FY24 money yet, but I'm guessing we're going to be around $130 million this year, in an attempt to fund as many great ideas, the DARPA SBIR awards tend to be a bit lower than the SBA caps, which is that middle column. So we typically award about $249,000 and change to $275,000 for our phase 1. And I'm going to say that that number is sort of a bit strange sounding, $249,999. But I'm going to tell you that we're doing that because we're experimenting with purchase orders. And $249,999 is just under the simplified acquisition threshold of $250,000. That's the number we have to stay below in order to try to issue purchase orders for SBIRs. That makes the contracting process go so much quicker and helps get down to the work of R&D a lot quicker. Our phase 2s are about $1.8 million. We typically administer our phase 2s as a mix of contract awards and other transaction agreements for OTs. Now, if you don't have a cost approved accounting system, typically we will try to do a firm fixed price for award for the first year. and then transition you to a cost type contract to give you time to get a cost approved accounting system. Or sometimes if we can do it and the research is such that we can set up these clear milestones, we will do an OTA or an other transaction agreement, which you do not have to have a approved cost accounting system for. Now, with respect to funding, there are times when we exceed the caps that we've set at DARPA, and even there's times when we exceed the SBA caps. For instance, when an effort is so specialized that there's a need to invest a higher dollar amount in order to get a good return on investment. At DARPA, I will say these are typically numbers where we start, but they don't end up being where we end because there's no cap on the amount of non-SBIR or STTR funding that can be put on a SBIR. And a lot of times we talk with other agencies about putting some of their program dollars onto our SBIRs to help us get that work done quicker. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so again, no surprise, at DARPA, we're kind of unique in how we use our program. The tools that you see, I call this my toolbox side, and all the tools that you see on here are pretty much available to almost all the components and services within the DoD, right? Phase 1 and direct to phase 2 are how we release our topics. And I will say that we probably do a mix of a third of our topics are phase 1, a third are direct to phase 2, and then a third we kind of give you the option of either or. We probably do anywhere from 18 to 26 topics that we release a year, depending on the year. Moving down to the middle part of that slide, we also frequently utilize adoptions, which are also commonly referred to as cross-agency awards. And this is a big one. So for anybody that has ever gotten a SBIR or an STTR and it did not progress all the way through, you maybe only got a phase 1 and didn't progress to a phase 2. Or you had a phase 1 and progressed to one phase 2, but did not get a second, you are eligible for what is called an adoption. And at DARPA, we utilize that quite frequently. I want to say in FY23, we did about 45 adoptions where we grabbed a performer from another agency that wasn't capped out on their SBIRs and adopted them to come do work with us. Now, moving across that screen, the other thing that we do here is a lot of sequential or concurrent phase 2s. Every SBIR or STTR can have up to 2 phase 2s. They can be sequential, they can be years apart, or they can be concurrent. So thinking about the fact that our program managers are here on limited tenure, we utilize this tool sometimes and we'll issue concurrent phase 2s that cover different parts of research so we can get you to that finish line while that program manager is still here. Moving down on the screen to the enhancements and co-funds, those are the enhancement is our matching program. And our co-fund is what we do when we get money from other agencies to help plus up the work that you're doing. Both of those tools are heavily utilized as well. And then finally, our SBIR XL pilot. So let's go to the next slide so I can actually talk about that. The real takeaway, though, from that toolbox slide is that there are multiple tools in the toolbox to advance research and development. And at DARPA, we take advantage of all of them. So I encourage you to become familiar with that. But now our SBIR XL pilot, and I'm super excited about it. It's our newest tool, and it's really focused on transition and aimed at reimagining SBIRs to transform ideas into successful businesses that can scale. This has a very increased emphasis on transition and commercialization milestones. We're really asking our program managers and our PMs to think beyond the SBIR and really do some advanced planning and preparation for transition. We have increased award values, and we piloted a shortened proposal package, which has been so successful. We have now used that for our other direct to phase 2 and phase 2 proposals. Since its inception in FY21, we've released, I think, 10 topics, and we selected 22 proposals for award. And I think more than half of them were actually to first-time DARPA SBIR awardees. Through this pilot, we're really hoping to help our businesses bridge that valley of death and be even better prepared for transition. So speaking of transition, let's go to the next slide. In order to help our performers grow their technology and help us grow our technology investment, the SBIR and STTR program at DARPA offers a transition and commercialization support program to all of our phase 1 performers and offers some help to our, to all of our phase 2 performers and offers some help to our phase 1 performers as well. through this program, we're really trying to help companies move their technology beyond phase 2 and transition it to other parts of the government or industry. You can see from this slide, right, through this support, we're really trying to help and strengthen the technology investment impact within the DoD acquisition train and US technology. So next slide, how do we do this? Right, commercial and dual use technologies are the goals of the SBIR and STTR program. And at DARPA, a lot of our projects tend to be early stage. They're lower TRL and they usually require more R&D beyond the initial phase 2 project. If you think back to what I said when we first started, right, that integrated chip that enabled Wi-Fi was from the 80s, and it took years before it got to our smartphones. What we are trying to do is shorten that time. So recognizing that, and as you can see from the slide, right, we explore so many different and concurrent transition pathways for our SBIRs. What I like to say is I'm trying to give our performers and their program the legs. I want to give them legs, so to speak, or their life after DARPA, so that these programs, these performers can continue their work and walk out of DARPA onto their next big project. So we do this in various ways, right? One is through our promoted matchmaking and our technology interchange meetings that we have with large primes that are interested in projects. We do this early and often. I ask all of our performers to engage with our end users and transition partners early, much earlier than anyone is comfortable with, because what we want to do is get you in front of an end user so you can talk about what you're doing, where the goals are, so that at the end of your project, you have a prototype or the startings of a prototype that will be useful. I never want to get you to a point where an end user says, this would have been great if you would have made this one adjustment. So we have those conversations earlier. These have been very successful conversations. We actually did a series of 3 days of technical interchange meetings with BAE Fast Labs, and it was so successful that they are actually starting an accelerator program for some of our phase 2 performers. Multiple concurrent pathways is our goal, and that's what we try to do. But in the interest of time, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, this is a lot. I tried to kind of keep this short because we only have about 30 minutes, but fear not. In addition to running the SBIR program, I also run DARPA's latest initiative, our first ever PIA, our Project Intermediary Agreement with the Applied Research Institute. It is called DARPA Connect. No relation to SBIR Connect that is sponsoring this talk, but it is called DARPA Connect. And their goal is really to break down barriers to entry for new performers, potential performers new to the national security space or new to working with DARPA. Their job is to help you understand us and help you work with us. They have 4 different kind of pillars that they do that you can see on the screen. We do regional and virtual events. In fact, our next one is going to be all virtual on June 12th. And I think registration is opening up at some point this week. And they're little kind of teasers to help get you to understand a little bit more about the agency. We also offer networking opportunities at these events. The third piece of it is really training and development. At DARPA Connect, what we have done is designed an online curriculum that is designed to help you better understand engagement. It's the first of its kind that I know of in the federal government, where you sign up for an account and you really can take everything from learning about a DARPA 101, how to prepare for a proposer and industry day at DARPA, learning about international engagements. If any of you are from international or have international ties, what you can and can't do with DARPA. There's a SBIR module on it. It's really designed to help get you educated, because I think a lot of times the work that you do up front before engaging with an agency can be just as valuable as the work that you do on the proposal, because it helps you understand the agency. And then finally, that final piece really is on customized support and mentoring. We launched recently the Connect Corner, and the Connect Corner is set up with 4 pillars. Monthly, there is one-on-one coaching available. There is office hours. We do an Ask Me Anything, and then we do some sort of a talk. And in fact, there's a SBIR talk tomorrow on the Connect Corner where I'll go into a little more detail on this program. But in the interest of time, that is kind of where I think I will leave it. And I would encourage you to sign up at DARPA Connect, either DARPA Connect at darpa.mil, or if we can drop in the chat, darpaconnect.us is the website. So I know that was a lot in a little bit of time, but I'm trying to be respectful of people's time. And Shadi, I am happy to answer a couple of questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again so much for the wealth of information. And I think it's important for folks to also sign up for latest announcements when topics are released, since you mentioned about the rolling topic submissions. Okay, so one question that did come in through our registration was, how can companies follow up if their SBIR proposal isn't selected?
That's a great question. I mean, it's one that I'm so pleased that it came up that we can talk about, right? At DARPA, if you submitted a proposal, we will give you a select or non-select notice and we'll give you an evaluation. But if you still have questions, I encourage you to reach to us and ask for what we call an informal debrief. And I'll set up a 15-minute phone call between me, the contracting officer, and the program manager that drafted the topic, and they can give you some more customized feedback. I think that's really important because although our technical evaluations are pretty detailed, sometimes the answer simply is you had a great proposal, but there's a limited number of funds available. And so we just weren't able to select you. And other times the feedback is, wow, you were way off. But either way, that feedback is really important to help you for your next proposal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And some questions did come in through our chat. I think related to that, can companies do any off-topic submissions? And I'm probably going to rephrase that as like unsolicited or not through a solicitation.
Yeah, so I will say DARPA really issues specific topics. With the SBIR Reauthorization Act of 2022, we are now issuing one open topic a year, but the open topic is a little more tailored to a specific area. So the best way to get some of your ideas in is to work with DARPA Connect and find a program manager that you can identify that would have interest in your area, and then call and have a discussion with them. A lot of times these discussions are where we get our ideas for our programs, challenges, or our smaller efforts like our SBIRs and STTRs. These are great discussions to have, and they will respond to you if you send them a message.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Related to the SBIR XL topic releases, where can companies find those topics? And
So
there
when
was a
we
follow-up.
release,
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
oh yeah, I have
And I
the
think
chat.
the
I have the
follow-up.
chat. Let me answer
Yep.
that one right first,
Sure.
because those questions are a little different. So when we release the topic, it will tell you if it is an XL. You will know by the award value.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. And I think some towards, I guess, focus areas, are there any health related in device or small molecules or any pharma biotech opportunities? I see a nod, so I think that's a definite
absolutely. Yeah. So our biological technologies office and even our defense sciences office would have some interest. In fact, our biological technology office is in the middle of their triage challenge, which is all about certain types of health and medical devices. And we also just released some programs related to the golden hour and how to extend that golden hour. So absolutely check our biological technologies office.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think one last question before we wrap up. Someone had asked if they need to engage with a consultant to find their way through the DARPA process. I
would say absolutely not. DARPA Connect is really designed to help you engage. I cannot stress enough how much I'm so fond of this program and how much they are already helping small businesses and expanding their reach. Their job is to help you. I will leave you with this, right? My director says that what keeps her up late at night is not all the scary things she knows about that goes on in the world. It's the fact that there are some great ideas that we will never hear because people don't know how to engage. And out of that idea, DARPA Connect was born. It is their job to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for Jennifer for your time to present about the DARPA SBIR program. For everyone else that attended, again, thank you for joining in as well. We do have this as a recorded session, so on demand, you could review some of the information that Jennifer's actually talked about. So again, thank you so much. And for everyone, please do review connect.org/SBIR for more workshops like this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Kylie. And we will leave it at that.
Thanks, Shadi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.